Good everyone, welcome to today's video. Today we have a sub request by Christian for the P-38L 5LO. That's a very long-winded name, but we're just going to call it the P-38L. Excuse me, a little bit croaky on the throat. So, with YouTube's handles, you might notice he's in the comments section with a different name. That's just how YouTube have decided to do their handles. You'll probably notice that I've got a dash in my replies, but yeah. That's just how YouTube have started doing it, so if you're a little bit confused about the name and then you see him in the comments, there you go. So, let's start out with the P-38L and discuss this plane, because it's been a while since I've really talked about it. The P-38L was one that I reviewed very early on in my channel, and I love the plane, but I don't like the teams it was stuck on at the time. And I heavily suspect this is going to be the case even today. This is because USA teams have arguably gotten worse, and that's why the Bearcat is set at 5.0. And you saw how bad the F8F1 was doing with its teams in the F8F video that I did for OK Matt, I believe it was. And I'm personally not looking forward to this, but hey, I don't make the rules. He did either want the P-47D28 or this, but I said to him it's either one or the other, because obviously it's not fair on others. And he picked the P-38L because I haven't covered it in a long time. Now, the differences between the P-38L and the other P-38s like the E and the G as well as the J is, of course, the loadouts. Of course, the J can carry, I believe, the 500-pound bombs, but I don't think it carries HFARs. The L can carry a couple of gun pods, which we're probably not going to take. We can also carry some HFARs. Additionally as well, if you actually look under the wings of the aircraft, you can see these small slats here. Well, dive recovery flaps, I should say. These were installed on the P-38L to basically give it better handling at higher speeds because it struggled to pull out of high-speed dives. So they should come in handy if we need them. But of course, we keep the same P-38 armament, and of course, the engines are improved with nearly 1600 horsepower apiece. Which, that's quite a bit of horse, and to be honest, we're going to need that because we need to climb like a boss and get above everyone else. Now, the only problems we might run into are fellow P-38Ls on the Chinese side, but other than that, we should be pretty much above everything. So hopefully we get that in terms of a result. But yeah, let's go see what this thing can do. It's been a number of years since I've really played the P-38L. I don't really play the P-38s all that much anymore, as much as I love them, because I've already spaded the one in the Chinese tree. I've got the skins unlocked on the G. The E doesn't have any, and this doesn't even need... Well, the J has them as well. I've done the J. That would have been about a year and a half ago. And I do think there needs to be more P-38 models in the game. Especially ones that provide a bit more versatility, because this one's obviously pretty good, and on a map like this is also very good. But yeah, I definitely think we need more P-38s in terms of like different variants and things like that. So we're gonna take ground, and I mean we could use the gun pods here, but I don't think we're gonna need it. I don't normally use the gun pods on the L because you don't really need them, to be brutally honest. Like, having the extra 450s just helps, but I mean, if you play it smart, I'm just going to turn on my headset a little bit. You can pretty much get away with everything. And when you're paired up with these damn things, you tend to do things pretty well even on your own. Because, well, paired up with XP50s, it's not that difficult. So, we've got the Russians on our team, which is good for us. This is a 5-0 game, so this is pretty much top dog territory. Of course, we do have a pair of XP50s helping us out, so we will be able to help them as well as them helping us. So hopefully we should be able to work as a team here, although that is a... what's the word? It's a hard call, considering it's War Thunder. And given we have an XP50 who's doing that, yeah, that just gives you an idea of USA teams. Next thing you know, the XP50 is going to be at like 3-0 or something like that. That's not a suggestion, Gaijin, by the way. So a little other fact about the P-38L is you see those little like antennae on the tail. That is actually a rear-facing radar of sorts. And I don't know if I'll be able to find a button in the cockpit or whatever. But essentially there was like an alarm that would blare in the cockpit. And that would alert the pilot if the enemy aircraft was in 800 meters. Which, as you can imagine, was pretty useful. It was also present on the P-37N, which you can also see in game. So there you go, you're learning something a little bit different. But yeah, I'm not bothered about the plane's performance because I think this thing has incredible performance. But I mean, the enemy team has 3 ground pounders. They don't appear to have any bombers. I think it's safe to say we can level out in about, I'd say, another 1.5 kilometers because we don't really need anything higher than that. We are fighting the Germans, the British, and the Japanese, all of which have decently capable fighters. The British and the Japanese are probably some of the worst ones you can fight because they always have turn fighters. And they can be a pain in the arse to deal with, but I think we can handle them. They're just farming our ground time. There's actually 5 on the deck. I'm tempted to go down there, and our XP-50 is fucking farming, one of them. I'm tempted, but the thing is that this thing's it's better used at higher altitudes, let's put it that way. I know it doesn't seem like much at the minute, I'm just going to wipe a speck off my screen. But once this thing gets wound up, it can definitely do some work. I don't know what the hell this XP-50 is doing, but I guess he's just having a bit of fun. And given the ticket situation, I don't blame him. So, whereabouts are they? Well, they're definitely in F4. They're probably in E3, so yes, they are. But we've got to deal with these guys first, because I don't want to go down and then get bounced from above, because this thing, whilst it does have good handling, it's not the greatest for dogfighting, which is odd, because the P-38 could beat the 109s pretty comfortably IRL, and in War Thunder you have to put your effort in to do it. So let's engage this guy first, who is not paying the most amount of attention. You only need a short burst to put these targets down with this thing. Scratch 1. I've got soft former above me now. We need to do something about these ground pounders, because now there's 6 on the deck, and I don't really want to leave them. I think I can leave the XP-50 in the Bearcat to handle these. Make that 7. There's 7 ground pounders. What the fuck? Now I can put to use these dive recovery flaps. So you'll notice on the airspeed that it's not going down by a lot. That's not the point. They're meant to help the pilot control the aircraft at higher speeds, which is why I'm putting them down now. Because the lower we go, the more chance we're going to have our potential energy used up and things like that. And whilst we are bleeding speed, we're not bleeding too much, and we can obviously control the aircraft fully. Let's go for the 61. Okay, he's going to do that. That's completely fine. 335's over there. We need to start dealing with these guys now, because if we don't, we're going to have a problem. Okay, retract the dive recovery flaps. Now he's the 2 Otsukai, which does have the better engine, but it's not an amazing engine, that's the thing. And as you can tell, this thing handles like a boss when it comes to these sorts of engagements. I'm going to watch that 410 though. He's done. See, as long as you know basic energy fighting and you can bait people into stalls like that, you're pretty much golden in this thing. You don't need a lot of intelligence to really fly this thing. I mean, you gotta know basic stuff, but if by this point you've not learned it in the US Tech Tree, I feel for you. In a bad way, because you should know this by now. Wyvern's over there. I'm going to go for the Brigand next, although the XP-50 looks like he's going for that. Now, our low altitude performance is pretty good still, but it won't be anything like the 335. Well, that's the end of him at least. It will beat stuff like the Ki-43 and the Brigand, but we won't be able to catch the Wyvern. Okay, the Yak-3's just scratched him. Good. The 43 is being double teamed, soon to be triple teamed, so let's add to the party. Never mind. So now it's just the Wyvern. See, with a little bit of intelligence, you can definitely turn your team's situation around, because remember, we was low on tickets, and now we can pretty much do what we like. Okay, he's shooting at the same target as me.
Somebody attack him.
Okay, you're gonna waste cannon rounds on a bot? I mean, sure. So now we're gonna try and find some tanks to kill, because we can kill the tanks on this map. There's not many left, but we'll find some. We can pop them with a 20mm cannon. We've got 94 rounds, so I'm not too concerned about that. I don't know what this 109 is going to do, but he's probably going to target the same tank as me. He is, so we've got to be careful of that. Last thing we want is getting TK'd, because that's embarrassing this day and age. Tank destroyed. Nice and easy. So now all we'll do is we'll just head off and kill some ground targets. Because the Wyvern's probably just going to do donuts of his airfield. But that's completely fine, because then we get to show off the versatility of this aircraft. But yeah, don't go into dogfights expecting to beat everything in this thing. It's not what it's built for. It can dogfight, but not comfortably against some vehicles. You've got to be very careful. And speaking of very careful, I'm going to open up on these things quickly, because they will kill us. Because whilst they did nerf the mid-map AA, they didn't nerf the trucks. Oh, careful. And obviously it's a bigger fighter than what you think. The P-38 is quite a large fighter. So do watch your wings if you're doing low altitude passes. SU-6 bot just killed the friendly. I will obviously show off I'm doing a video in the future, by the way, on keybinds. Mine are pretty simplistic because, well, I tend to forget things, so it's much easier for me to have things that I remember. A lot of them are actually default. You'll be very surprised to know. Like default keybinds, like the C key. Like right now, I'm not even using my left mouse button. I'm just using the one button on my keyboard just to fire the 50 cals because, well, my hands don't have to do anything else, so all I'm doing is just using keybinds that I know. You don't really need a lot in terms of keybinds. And at the end of the day, as long as you're comfortable with them, that's all you need. So it looks like the Wyvern's time has ran out, which is good because he's doing donuts, and there he goes. Won't be able to get this last armed car, I don't think. Yeah, technically we did, but it was before the game ended. But there you go. 3 air kills, 10 ground kills, 1 assist. Quite simple to do. And you also got to see an old long-shot rope-a-dope. If you remember long-shot, then leave it in the comments, because he was actually a guy who taught me a few of my tricks, that's for sure. But there you go. Chupay's okay. SL and RP and all that. Pays pretty fine. Can do pretty well. It does take a bit of practice, though, this plane. The same with the other P-38s. They're not the easiest to learn, that I will say. But once you do learn them, you're going to be alright. That's for sure. But anyway, I'm going to leave you all to it. I hope you enjoyed today's video on the P-38L, and I will see you all on the next one.